everyone, and welcome back to the Problem with Authority podcast. I'm your host, Kirsten Kelly, and today we are going to dive into the topic of the problem with college. I know it's been a little bit since I've uploaded an episode. I am in a transition period, transitioning from full-time job and full-time internship out of student life. So that's been a really big transition for me. I'm working a little over 40 hours, so it has been a lot. And I do a lot of, although my job is social work, I do a lot of editing curriculum, which in an online format comes with videos. So I edit a lot of videos. And every time I would sit down for the past week to go record this episode, I was just like, ugh, I'm going to have to edit it. And I just really used up all my editing energy for the past week. So now I'm recording and I will edit it and it'll be up before this weekend is over. So I'm so happy to be back. And this episode I really think is important to talk about because there's a lot of things that I wish I knew before I went to college. And I think there's a lot of push to do your college experience in a certain way. And if it doesn't look like that, you're shamed for it. Or at the same time, there's a lack of education around different scholarships or resources or just guidance, honestly, around what's the best way to do college, cheapest way, most affordable, but also being able to have that full experience that you want. And I posted this question on my Instagram story asking a lot of you what you wish you knew before going into college. So that's how I'm really going to guide this episode today, touching on each response that some of my followers gave me. So let's jump into it. So one of the first things somebody wishes that they knew, my coworker sent this in. Shout out to Andrea, love her. She said she wished she knew more about Facebook groups where people share where to find free food plus food banks, which that is really important. I know Facebook, especially for our generation, we're kind of like, ew, Facebook. But I am in a lot of Facebook groups and they are really helpful. They're helpful in learning more things about social work, therapy, licensure, podcasting. I'm in a lot of Facebook podcasting groups, foodies groups, plant groups, and they're really beneficial because the people are literally just there to help guide and direct you or give advice, which is really awesome. So I agree. I think before you go into college, joining some Facebook groups in the area for your university will be really helpful. Next is how to find a job while in college. This one is huge because I know a lot of people have to work and not always, especially I know I did my undergrad and grad at Florida State University, and that's located in Tallahassee, Florida. And Tallahassee has so many, there's Tallahassee, there's FAMU, there's TCC. So finding a job here can be hard because there's so many students here, and finding a job that's going to pay you a decent amount and not overwork you, or sometimes even give you enough hours, can be difficult. So I feel like there should be on some campuses not just, support groups. And I know FSU has the little like handshake or, things to help you with your resume, but not always are those things helpful. So I feel like I would refer back to Facebook groups with that response. Maybe a lot of other students or people in the area might know of jobs and you could find them really quickly. And I know in a lot of the social work Facebook groups that I'm in, they're asking people if they want this job or that job all the time. And so many people I know have said, "Oh yeah, I got my job off of Facebook." And I'm like, "Oh wow, that's really great." The next one is all the free things you get with your student ID. This is very true. When I became a senior, I didn't know a lot of the things. Like we get discounted dental. We get there was a lot of things that I found out way later on in my college experience that we got for either discounted or free. So honestly, before you become a college student, be like, hey, do you have a student discount, or is this free because I'm a student and I'm struggling and dying on the inside? Because 9 out of 10 times there probably is a discount or it's free. The next one is from Warren, and he says you should really get to know your advisors and intern as many summers as you can. I definitely agree with this. Building relationships and networking was one of the best decisions I ever made because it opened up opportunities for jobs and internships. People would think of you because you've built relationships with them. They'll think of you like, "Oh, hey, I know Kirsten was looking for a job," and they will send it to you or an internship. And that is really super helpful. Advisors, I know, can be great, and sometimes they can be not so great. And I know we've all been there having experiences like that. And for any people that are applying to colleges right now, you should know that not everybody is going to be helpful. But it is beneficial to really get to know people, build relationships so that you can get some benefits, if I'm being honest. And I love the intern as many summers as you can. I know for me, when I so a little backstory about me in college. I did not get into Florida State when I first applied. And it was not because of my GPA. My GPA was really high. I was like top 25 or whatever, had the extracurriculars, blah, blah, blah. Like they told me I had to do. They were like, oh, you need to play a sport in order to get into college. That's bullshit. You do not have to. You do not have to kill yourself with all these clubs and sports. That's bullshit. You just have to be really good at taking the SAT and ACT. And I was not. I wasn't expecting not to be, I wasn't expecting to be that bad at taking it. It was pretty bad. But later on, actually, when I got into college, I found out that I have dyslexia, which I didn't know. I didn't know my whole life. I kind of thought everybody flipped things around and saw things weird like how I did. I thought that was normal, but it's not. So I definitely could have gotten more time to take the test, which goes into comprehending the material. And honestly, I think SATs and ACTs need to be abolished. There's no point. Like, what's the point of working so hard for 4 years just to not get in because you couldn't take a stupid test that has nothing to do with college? Ugh. Oh my God, I could literally go on a rant on that. But anyway, so I didn't get into Florida State when I applied, and I really didn't want to go anywhere else because I wasn't going to pay for out of state. I didn't want to go to Clemson. Ew, no. I didn't want to go to UF. FAU or FGCU would have been fun. FGCU is expensive as heck, and FAU, I knew the town was expensive, so I already knew college was going to be a lot. So I was trying to like be smart about it. So I was like, okay, Tallahassee it is. So I ended up going to the community college out here, which is Tallahassee Community College, TCC. Go Eagles! So thankful for TCC, and I got my AA before I transferred. Now that was one of the best decisions I ever made in my entire life. College, people say college is a scam, and it is. It is and it isn't, but it is. There were classes that I were able to take at TCC that were so easy and so much fun because the classes were smaller. And I did honors over there, and I got my AA paid for because of my GPA was so high. My SAT and ACT score didn't matter, which was great. So I was actually being valued and given, rewards for my hard work, which is where I needed to be. I didn't need to be in a place that wasn't going to value me and all the hard blood, sweat, and tears that I put into literally having anxiety attacks over grades just to be rejected and to be like, oh, you're not ready for college, which is bullshit. So I went to TCC and they valued me, which was great. And I loved it because the classes were easier. So like when you go to FSU, like you take like baby bio or whatever, and they make the classes so hard for no fucking reason. Oops, I cursed. I don't care. No reason. And I was able to take those classes at TCC and get really good grades in them, opposed to like people I knew that were at Florida State that were really struggling because it's not even like they up the rigor. It's like they make things complicated when they don't need to be. I don't understand college in a lot of ways. But anyway, so doing it at TCC, it was cheaper. Actually, it was free for me because community colleges have a lot of money to give. The class sizes were smaller. I think it was a great transition from high school life to college life. I was still able to join a few clubs on FSU's campus, which was nice to be able to build relationships over there before I went, because it kind of felt like, yes, was it a little annoying that like everybody was at FSU and like I was at TCC? Yes, it was. I'm not gonna lie. Was I shamed for going to community college and not a four-year university? Yes, but this is one of the things that I'm thankful that I didn't get in, and that I swallowed my pride and I went, because now as a more mature adult, that was the best decision I could have ever made, and I encourage everybody to do so. If I ever have a child, that is what I will be encouraging them to do, because there's just so many pros over what I think going to a four-year university can give you. And do not let people tell you that you're going to miss out on the experience. You are not. Life is what you make of it. If you want to go out and party, you can still do it if you're at a freaking community college. It doesn't change it. I remember somebody telling me, oh, if you don't dorm, like you're missing out on your college experience. That's bullshit. Like, who wants to dorm? Who wants to live with a random person? It's not fun. Everybody I knew didn't enjoy it. Their roommate ended up being crazy. So we can go ahead and just skip that step. So that's my little backstory. After I got my AA, I transferred into FSU, into the College of Social Work program, which another big reason I would say is a pro for going to community college is you have the time to think about your major and what you want to do. But on the downside, Florida State, especially, I don't know if this is for all four-year universities, they look down on transfer students changing their major. So I knew some students that had trouble changing their major once they transferred in. But fortunately for me, I really knew what I wanted to do, and I got great guidance at TCC, because for the longest time I was like, oh, I'm going to do psych, blah, blah, blah. Took some psych classes. I really didn't like it. And then the guidance counselor at TCC, forever thankful for that guy. Don't remember his name, but he was like, you need to do social work. So I did. I submitted my application. My GPA was beautiful because I was at community college and they make everything like easy. And it's not that they even make it, it's not that it's like, it's not that, oh, like community colleges, they're not challenging you as much. They're just direct. Like they make sense. They're not putting you through bullshit like what Florida State does. So my GPA was beautiful. That's the end of that story. And I got in, and I'm forever thankful for the College of Social Work at FSU, because the way that they did their grading, a lot of it was paper. It's a paper heavy major, which is how I can best express myself and show that I have the knowledge that I studied. Tests, I don't mess with those. I'd hate the trick questions. I don't understand why they're like that. That's not how the real world works. That's where I think college is a scam a lot of the time, because my boyfriend Austin, he double majored in business and marketing, and the bullshit that I watched those people put him through, it was disgusting. Like social work was so straightforward. Like read the material, write a paper about you explaining how you would apply this in real life, or explaining how you understand this material. And that was it. And that's all you need. There's no reason to be stressing students out for no reason. And even like pre-med kids, I don't understand. Like everybody fails the test, but because you failed the least, everybody gets a curb, and curve and you get an A. Like, what? Like, why not just make the material easy for kids to understand so that they can actually get good grades? I don't know, but then also grades are kind of stupid. So anyways, moving on. Moving on. So someone else said that they wish they knew that their parents' income affected their financial aid when they aren't paying for them, which, yes, that is very, very, very true. So, regardless if your parents are paying for your college, their income affects how much financial aid you get, which is really messed up. And they don't explain that to you. Everybody is always like, oh, you need to go to college, blah, blah, blah. But then, does not explain the really big investment that it is. And a lot of kids get screwed over in the beginning because nobody can help them once they get to these humps. Like, oh, well, mom and dad make too much money for me to get any financial aid, even though they're not going to help me at all. So now I have to take out loans and I'm going to have to work all throughout college. Someone else said, I wish I knew I'd be struggling financially because I had to move from full-time to part-time at my job in order to fit in my unpaid internship. Oh my God. This, I could talk about this. I could talk about this forever. So in other majors, it's like this, but specifically in social work, we have an internship for an entire semester, and it doesn't matter what semester it falls on, spring, fall, summer, you do it. And it is unpaid, and you have to pay for it. The price is ridiculous. They count it as like you're taking a full course load and then some. So they really hike the price up, and you cannot work because it's 40 hours a week. It's a 40-hour week internship. And I was blessed enough to get an employment-based internship for my master's one, but still I had to lower my work hours because of the way that the college needed me to be interning. So like they don't want your internship and your work to be all like mushed together. They want you to be doing 40 hours of an internship and then your 30, 25, 15 hours of work on top of that, which is I don't understand that. Like, what? So many students have complained about this. So many students have written to the deans about this, and I don't get it. I really don't. Just pay us. Like, we are sitting here doing work for you. A lot of these places hire kids afterwards. It's a really long time to not get paid, and people have to eat. There are scholarships, but they're not the best. And it's really stressful, and it's kids or adults, students really struggle and they're really stressed out. But how admin approaches it is like, oh, I had to do it like that. So you have to do it like that, which is ridiculous because we're social work, and I don't understand like how you can be so forgiving with clients, but when it comes to your own fellow partners and fellow social workers, you're like, forget you. Ridiculous. Ridiculous. The next response reads, toxic productivity, normalize taking breaks. Yes, this is very true. And I think this plays into the whole us, it's ingrained into our head since we're little that our value is tied to our grades. And it's not. Just do your best. Do the best that you can. Do the best that you want, even. Like, if you just want B's or C's, then just get B's or C's. If that's what you think is best for you, then do it. There's no reason to be killing yourself. I remember in high school, I did everything under the sun. I was in all the clubs, I did all the sports, I was taking all the hard classes, blah, blah, blah. Hated my life, was so angry all the time, stressed out, and I didn't get into college. And I was like, what the hell was all that for? What did I do all of that for, right? So it's kind of the same thing once you get to college. Don't do that anymore. And I see students that they were like those kids in high school and they would continue to do that in college. And I just would look at them and be like, well, that's stupid. Because for what? You're not going to get a job because you were president of a club. I'm sorry, you're not. If you can't nail an interview, you know what I mean? Like that's not going to matter. It matters what I don't know, it matters where your passions are. It matters that you're not burnt out. It matters that you have a great work-life balance. It matters that you don't work a lot. Like you don't like or do homework a lot or study like that matters. That really matters. And you could really kill in an interview if you bring, those type of things up, if that makes sense. They're gonna love like, oh, she takes time for herself. Wow, that's really great. And if you don't get the job because they don't agree with that, then that's not a place you need to be. When it says fast paced on the Indeed description, don't apply for that job. Don't do that. That means that they will work you to death with no breaks. Trust me. All right, so the next one is funding for grad school. They wish that they knew about funding for grad school. I agree. There was I was actually blessed enough to get a scholarship for grad school, and I didn't apply for this scholarship. It was just kind of given to me because of my GPA. And I'm really blessed for that. But other than that, there was not a lot of guidance on where to get funding, where to get financial aid, especially with a lot of us that have literally graduated when COVID started and are about to graduate again when COVID is still happening. There's a lot of barriers and things that we've had to jump through in order to make money because everything shut down. And then they're not going to give us any relief because when you go to grad school, for people that don't know this, your tuition like triples. And then you can't work because you have an internship, and then they hike up the internship tuition. It's a scam. Like that's rude. It's so freaking rude. And then that's just for a master's degree. It's not for a PhD. It's not for a doctorate or anything like that. So that's fun. That's a lot of fun. The next one is the difference between our classroom experience and our field work experience. I think what this person is saying is that I mean this is how I'm taking it. I could be wrong, but I definitely felt this if we're on the same wavelength, Patrick, is the classroom the classroom literally does not translate to what actually goes down in real life. And that's really sad. That's a sad reality. That's a sad conclusion to come to because I don't know, you just kind of, maybe I like fantasized about it. Like I'd be writing notes and I'm like, oh, like I will be in these scenarios and it'll be so straightforward and it will make sense. It won't. A lot of things that they say in the classroom are just not applicable to real life. They just can't happen, especially in social work because of all the hoops and ethical dilemmas that come our way. It's honestly an exhausting mess. And professors, I think, simplify it a little too much. And a lot of them, you have to think too, like professors have been out of the field for a while unless they're adjunct, but the majority of them haven't been out there in a while. So, they might romanticize or glorify it a little bit, which sucks because when we get out there, it's very different than what you learn in the classroom. So the next one is how big of an investment college really is and the long-term implications for financial stability. I agree. I think it's wild that at 17 we are being really pushed in the direction of college without anybody sitting down with us and really, making it clear how big of an investment it is and the long-term implications of financial stability for you taking out loans, for you not being able to work full-time because you're going to school full-time, or if you do work full-time, how that might affect your academic career. There's no reason that 17-year-olds should be making that big of a decision. That's why I would really encourage people to go to community college, because it's so much more affordable. Like, you can pay for your classes and work, or you can, as a young person, you can work and go to school and pay for it. You really can. Will it take longer? Hell yeah, but who cares? Like, nobody has time. Nobody has time for the amount of money that this shit costs at all. And I think what really upset me in my school was it was more about a status thing. Oh, I got into college and I'm going here. Like, it had nothing to do with like actually going to college, like what that actually means and what that actually looks like. It was just like this American dream, like bullshit fantasy. And it really sucks that they don't. And the college quote unquote advisors in high school, they have no idea what they're talking about. Absolutely none. Don't listen to them. Do not double check, get your receipts and check them, because they have no idea. Absolutely none. That is one thing I will say too. If you are in the process of going to college, you need to call the college. You need to bother the college and ask them every single question yourself, because those people don't know anything. And they probably shouldn't be college advisors in the first place. Oh, the tea. All right, next, Danny said that universities tend to pretend that they care about students more than they do. At the end of the day, they run as a business rather than an institution. I could not agree more. That is such a true statement. And we saw this especially with COVID. There was not a lot of relief for students. Professors kind of lost their mind. I know not any in the College of Social Work, but I know, or that I had at least, but a lot of students that I knew in other majors, the professors made things harder. They didn't care that students couldn't pay for their classes. They didn't care that a parking ticket could literally ruin somebody's day. Like, why are you giving out parking tickets? Why are you packing on all these fees? Why aren't you waiving any fees? It's disgusting. It really is. And that's the truth of it. There's really no, I don't have any advice on how to change that. Like, they all they care about is your money and getting it. So that's another huge reason that you should go to community college. Period. All right. Next one. Sasha said you need a mentor. I agree. You need somebody that's been through it, that can tell you all the shit that you need to know. Because and not somebody who works in the college. I mean, you need somebody who like works in the college, to get that connection, but you also need like an older student who, doesn't have those ties, because they're going to tell you how it really is, if you know what I'm saying. Next is, I wish I knew more about student loans. Yes. There was no, financial class in high school. I didn't know anything about loans, taxes, all the beautiful things that we're supposed to know and learn about. Had no idea how they work, how they don't work, what's the best way to do them, to manipulate, paying for this really financially heavy investment. But nobody cares. Nobody cares about us or our needs, really, ever. It's sad. Next, Becky said the total cost. Yes, I love that, the total cost, because you never really sit down and have on paper what each semester is going to cost you, and that's not including books. Also, we shouldn't have to pay for books. That's a scam. There's a lot of ways that you can get free books. You didn't hear that from me, but do that, because there's no reason you should be paying for books, especially a book that the professor wrote. Absolutely not. That's disgusting. That's disgusting. No, ma'am. Marina said unpaid internships. Again, I'm right there with you. Irving said, shout out to Irving. Irving and I will be doing an episode recording, I think next Friday. He said how community colleges look down upon. Yes! He said, I recommend to watch College Admission Scandal on Netflix. Very eye-opening. Ooh, I have not watched that. So I can't make a comment on it. But yes, how community colleges look down upon. I don't know why. I really don't. They're so amazing. They can really do a lot for you. Hey listeners, it's time for a short ad break from our sponsor. If you haven't heard about Anchor by Spotify, it's the easiest way to make a podcast, with everything you need all in one space. Let me explain. Anchor has tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. When hosting on Anchor, you can distribute your podcast on listening platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and more. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. And best of all, Anchor is totally free. Download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Yes, so don't look down on community college, you little high schoolers that are listening. You know, your friend that's going, you're going, go. It's so worth it. I can't even explain how much better of an experience you will have, and it's such a stress reliever to not have to start collecting loans so early on in your education career because of how affordable it really can be. And just the time that you'll have to explore what you want to do. Because another big issue that I have with college, right? So at 17, we're supposed to be making these huge financial decisions without getting fully educated on the cost, on the investment, on the stress, on the toxic productivity, none of that. And then also, we're so young, we don't really have a clue what we want to do. We might have an idea, but once you get into that, locked into that 4-year university, it can cost you so much more money and time if you keep changing your major because you don't know what you want. Like, it's not I'll just change my major. Like, you have to jump through a lot of hoops, and it can hurt you financially, and it can honestly hurt your mental health. It's not like they make it an easy transition. So these are just way too big of a decisions for 16-year-olds, I believe, to be making. That's why I think community college is such a beautiful baby step in that direction, so that you can really feel it out and see if it's for you. That's another thing. College is not for everybody. It's not. You don't have to go to college. Like, geez, you really don't. And I know a lot of kids that their parents wanted them to go, so they did, and they really just were miserable, or they dropped out because it just wasn't for them. Also, if you are in the middle of going to college and something happens, God forbid, a crisis, a death in the family, anything like that, take the time off. Take the year off. College is always going to be there. Don't beat yourself up about it. I know students that went through things like that, and they were just really hard on themselves, and life happens. The degree will always be there, and you can always get it. But sometimes it's better to be, actually, 10 out of 10 times, it's better to be in a position where you are mentally ready, you're mentally there, and you're financially ready. That just really changes the game for a lot of things, and that's not emphasized to us enough. It's not. Remember, you have to look at college as a business. They are not looking out for your best interests. So you need to make sure that you're investing in the right business that's going to give you the most return on your investment. And that includes jobs after you graduate. That includes opportunities while you're in the university. That includes networking, affordable classes, affordable housing, the support, the mental health support. How many sessions, how many free therapy sessions? Well, it's not free, you pay for it in tuition, but how many sessions can you get going to that while going to that university? Can you get dental? Are there food banks in the area that can help you? Are they accepting and culturally competent of you And the people around you, how do they handle their college scandals? Or do they look out for women? Do they look out for people of color? These are a lot of things that need to be, I think, evaluated and taken into consideration when it comes to your decision, because they can have a really great impact on you. And one of the things for me that I wish that I looked into more was location. Because, and if you're really going to like the place that you go to college at, because me and Tallahassee, we have this love-hate relationship. It's really not my favorite place. And I came from Kissimmee, Florida. So I had Orlando. I was 45 minutes away from the beach. I had Disney. I had Universal. The food, amazing. Drinks, amazing. And coming here, it's not like that at all. And I really struggle with that. I really do. And that can also have an impact on your experience. My sister responded. She was like, "It's expensive. Do I really need it?" And that's a big question. I know she's being funny, but that's a really good question. Do you need this? Is this going to benefit you? Are you going to use it? You know? Or also, a lot of the times you have to just really know how to finesse or manipulate either, not just the system, but also, how you sell yourself after that degree, or even if you drop down in the middle of it when applying for jobs. I know I'm in the process of doing that right now. It's ridiculous that these people want like 5 years experience for an entry level job. They just frown upon so many ridiculous things that just are a part of human life. So I don't understand how you can have humans as your employers if you don't have paid sick leave. And I don't even want children really, but like Florida State did not have maternity leave. They just passed it so that it'll start in the fall. That is disgusting. Wasn't FSU first a women's only college? I'm pretty sure I'm right about that. I could have made that up in my head, but I'm pretty sure I'm right. Like, that's disgusting, especially in the College of Social Work where it's a woman-dominated profession. Like, same with nursing, same with education. Like, what? What? Okay, see, they're a business. They're not here to look out for you. They're really not. I'm getting so worked up. And the last one is colleges being tailored only to those who have privilege, especially social work programs. That is especially true. And I come from a huge place of privilege financially when it comes to the aspect of paying for college and a place to live. That's another huge thing that people don't think about, is that you actually have to pay to live in the city or wherever that you're going to school. So college is also not as bad if you don't have to pay for housing. And don't shame on your friends that stayed home for those 4 years and went to college, because my behind is about to go back home for a year with my parents and live rent free to give me and Austin some time to get ourselves together before he starts law school, because there is just no reason to be paying all this money. There's really not. And affordable housing is very hard to find in, decent and safe areas. But back to that point, yes, it is tailored only to privileged people. And I know I was talking to my coworker about this. She said that she went to a Title IX school and they never told her about oh my goodness, why am I blanking on the program at FSU? The CARE program. Because I think she said that she was first generation, and the CARE program can really help in situations like that. And they just didn't tell her about it. She had no idea. So, not, failure to get that information out there so that kids can benefit from that, that's disgusting. That's disgusting. And then also, the racism, the the racism. Yeah. Yeah. There's been a lot of things that have happened in the College of Social Work since I've been here that were not okay. And a lot of the people that go to FSU, like it's a predominantly white university, they don't understand Tallahassee. Like Tallahassee is not predominantly white. It's predominantly an African American community. So it's just a very interesting dynamic watching, all the sorority and fraternity people who are mostly white running around, Tallahassee and doing the things that they do, and the racist shit that comes up is kind of disgusting. But yeah, that is all that I have for today. I am really happy to do an episode on this because I think it just would have helped me a lot before I went to college. Instead of just, doing what everybody told me to do, and really just coming to the terms with the fact that there's no one right way to do it. Your path is your path, and however you need to get there to reach the goals that you want to reach, not what other people want you to reach, is the best way to do it. It really is, and it can be a lot. It can be really stressful, not only academically but financially, and really just do your research in how they will support you, like what you're actually paying for, because you're not, in your tuition, you're not just paying for your classes, you're paying for the gym, you're paying for the football stadium. You're paid for the football team. I'm really, like, I don't think that's a joke. That's true. That's really messed up. But, you're paying for the mental health services that they can offer you, the health, medical services that they can offer you. So there's a lot more that goes into it than what people like to lead on. And I remember being in high school, and it was very much like, oh, like, mommy, daddy, everybody else is going to college. Like, I want to do it. Like, please let me do it. Please, please, please. And like, not really sitting down and having a conversation about what that means. And also now, like, that our generation has been through, been through college. If we do have kids, how we can better plan for our kids so that they don't have to bear the financial burden or stress of college. That's what my parents did for me. Very privileged. Again, very, 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 very privileged when it comes to the topic of finances and college for me. And they really gave me everything to be here and do what I'm doing. And sometimes that comes with guilt for me because I see so many other students struggling, and I just don't think that it should be like that. But students are really resilient, and the lessons and the growth that you learn, during those 4 or 5 years can be pretty amazing, but that doesn't mean that you can't learn the same things or even better things doing something different. Yeah. The last thing I will say, since I'm coming up to the end of my academic journey, which is kind of crazy. I can't believe that. I don't think I will go for a PhD. I don't see the point. Research really doesn't interest me. And in social work, you can be a professor at the master's level, which might interest me later on. Who knows? And I'm not going to get a doctorate in social work. I think that's stupid. But one thing I do wish I did was do like an alternative spring break, or like take a semester and go abroad. I was going to do it, and then COVID happened. So I think COVID taught us a lot of things, to just do it, just live our lives, just, take the risk and be uncomfortable, because the next day you might not be able to do it at all. So just really think about it before you invest. There's a lot to think about. It's a huge decision to do this. But it's not the only way. It's not the only way to do life. And it's getting to the point too where, bachelor's degrees don't mean as much. So now we all have to get masters. And what does that mean? What does that mean for all of us? So yeah. All right. Thank you everybody for sitting and listening on this podcast episode today, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.